and follow after me. I pledge allegiance
allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag
of the United
of the United
States
States
of
of
America
America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, and now thought of the day, Aaron Donahue. Hi, Aaron.
Good afternoon, everybody. Is there a way I can share my screen? It won't take long. I promise not to eat up more than the 3 to 5 minutes that Jim Crane so graciously allowed me. Jim's
yeah,
like,
yeah, you could do that for Aaron. Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, you're a co-host. You can share your screen.
dun, dun, dun.
Oh.
Look at that. So how do you invite the why guy to do an opening thought and not talk about the why? Well, that's that's me, and I appreciate the opportunity this afternoon. We've had a wonderful year. I get a lot of questions every time somebody from the club I run into. They say, "How's the why?" So here's the how's the why. We're at the end of our year 2021. We've had a wonderful, interesting year over here in the building. So these are some of the pictures that kind of show you what it looks like inside the building when we're not just having a club meeting down the hall in our community room. We've done some wonderful, impactful things. I'll just highlight a few. We opened up our building to university high students after school. We thought that was a really cool thing. When the kids went back to school, after the pandemic, or we're still in a pandemic, but after they were allowed to by the school district, we found a number of students hanging outside the building. A lot of extracurricular activities had been shuttered and still are. So what the Y does in many cases in the community is we filled the gap. So now we've got over 300 uni students signed up for a program that allows them free access to our building. They come in through that back gate. There's a entrance that goes right from the school. So the students will come to the Y. They get homework help, positive caring adult mentors, career readiness workshops, physical activity, shenanigans, and all those other things that we know young people need after school, which is food is at the top of that list for sure. Absolutely. We also have a youth and government program at the Y, which is just like it sounds. Our young people are taught the inner workings of government, how to write bills into law. And what we've done is we've taken a number of university high students, about 80% of which fit into that lower income Title I school mode, and we're teaching them government, and we're really doing a fantastic job with that. We've got a great group of volunteers. If there's anybody that anybody knows here that would like to be an advisor for that program, please do let me know. We have, these are photos from back earlier in the year, and people were still wearing masks in our building, and we may be looking at something like that here in the next couple months. We hope not, but just making a huge impact, helping kids get caught up in school. We brought our Camp Whittle program. I don't know if Scott's on this call, but our Camp Whittle program back for the first time in over 2 years. If anybody knows what Camp Whittle is, that's the sleepaway program that the Y provides up in Big Bear. We have close to 300 kids, typical summer, that we teach leadership skills and being away from their parents and their friends and their teachers, and how to unplug from social media and all those other things. And kids come back from camp always better than they came, and we're super excited to bring that back this year. We taught a number of kids how to swim. You can imagine a year off or 2 years off in the life of a youngster is a pretty big period of time. And we can't keep up with the demand with the amount of parents and families in our community that need swim lessons, but we're doing the best we can. We've got some great instructors in the water. That's what the pool looks like when there's people in there and it's wet. So we've got a bunch of wonderful staff doing an amazing job with that. We distribute food every Thursday, as everybody in this club should know. We've got trucks from the West Side Food Bank and from Food Forward coming every Thursday morning. We had a line outside up the block at the Y this morning. If anybody knows anybody that's hungry or that can get over here and get food from the Y. It's all free. It's fresh, non-perishables and produce. Volunteers are doing a wonderful job with that. Or if anybody wants to volunteer, I know some of the folks on this call, Ben Fisher and others, have done a great job volunteering, helping to sort and stuff bags of food for folks that need it in the community. We have a big impetus to drive girls in sports. One of my responsibilities, in addition to leading this Y and a few others in our association, is our sports programs. And we've got more girls playing sports than we've ever had before. That's one of our esteemed coaches. His name is James. He's really helped us grow our girls basketball program from the ground up over the last year or so. And we're just really proud of that. Here's a couple other photos to end with what is typically the best way to look at some of you guys from the rear view. We had a wonderful meeting with the Rotary Club here at the Y. Proud to be with the club, proud to serve and do everything I can to help the community. And if anybody has any questions, let me know.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Aaron. What other Ys are you now involved with and have responsibility over?
So I oversee our Culver Palms Y, our Y in the Palisades, and then we have a branch in Montebello that I oversee executive directors at those locations, in addition to being the executive director here. So you don't lose any of me. Not that that's a bad thing, but got some other folks that I try to help mentor along as well.
Oh, that's just awesome. You're doing a great job for the Y. The Y should be very happy to have you in such a great leadership role. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, I don't think we have any guests or visitors today or visiting Rotarians. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things I've done every meeting I presided over my year as president was do this day in history. So here we are, December 8th. In 1941, on December 8th, President FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, before a convened joint session of Congress, declared war on Japan. Day before, of course, was Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th. Nazi Germany, in turn, declared war on us a few days later. Here's an interesting piece of history. 1991, the leaders of Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine signed the agreement dissolving the USSR. How history seems to repeat or seems to come back. Putin said that the breakup of the Soviet Union was the greatest disaster of the 20th century. I guess it depends on your point of view. Metallica. I'm sure we have a lot of Metallica fans. Metallica is an LA-based heavy metal band started in the early 80s. And they were the very first band to perform on all 7 continents. They had a concert on this day in 2013 in Antarctica. And in 2019, today was the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in America. I looked up before today's meeting the number of deaths, and I can't find where I wrote it down, but whatever. I wrote it here somewhere. I have all these little slips of paper, but there you go. But anyway, there was like over 1 million people have died over in the United States, that is, over 6.5 million worldwide. There's about 650 million cases worldwide since 2019. A horrible, horrible disease. My recommendation to everyone is get vaccinated, especially us older folks. We need to be vaccinated. Born on this day, Mary, Queen of Scots, was born in 1542. She was born in Scotland. She died in 1587. I get my dates mixed up here. I wrote some notes on that as well. Oh, there's the COVID information right over there. Anyway, Mary, Queen of Scots, she was beheaded in 1857 on February 8th. The Finnish composer Jan Sibelius was born on this date in 1865. He was probably the most well-known Finnish composer. Finlandia is probably his composition that most people know. 1886, Mexican painter Diego Rivera was born. He is one who was instrumental in starting the alfresco mural art medium throughout Mexico and the world. 1925, entertainer Sammy Davis Jr. was born. On this date in 1978, Golda Meir, Prime Minister of Israel, passed away. Beatle John Lennon was shot in New York at his home right near Central Park. In fact, in Central Park, right by the Dakota apartments where he was living at the time, in Central Park is a parcel of land called Strawberry Fields that you can go visit. I've been there. One of my favorite actors, actor Slim Pickens, was born on this day. Slim, for those of you who are fans of movies from the 60s, had a big part in the movie Dr. Strangelove. He played Captain King Kong, who piloted the B-52. And you might remember he sat on the bomb as the bomb was being released. Interesting, he wasn't supposed to be in the movie. Peter Sellers, he has 3 roles: a British officer, the President of the United States, and Dr. Strangelove. His 4th role was supposed to be Captain King Kong, but he hurt he sprained his ankle and they had to find somebody else, and Slim Pickens was a great choice. And lastly, on this day in 2016, astronaut and Senator John Glenn passed away. Senator Glenn was the 3rd astronaut to go into American astronaut to go into space, and he was the first astronaut who actually orbited the Earth. So those are some interesting little tidbits about what happened on this day in December 8th, and also who was born and who has passed away on this date. All righty, moving on. Some announcements. First, Diane, could you share a little bit about tonight's shopping spree at Westwood Transitional Village?
So we're meeting here tonight at 5:30. We have had 6 people cancel, 6 Rotarians due to various reasons. So if anybody has a friend that might want to come, or somebody's changed their mind and wants to participate, we would appreciate it. Anyway, we're meeting here at 5:30. The bus leaves for Rue's Bay's restaurant at 6 p.m. We'll be shopping at Target in Westwood. And I'm looking forward to having all of you here. Now, next week, the annual holiday party at Guido's restaurant, we're asking everyone to bring a teddy bear or some stuffed animal that we're going to take over to the Mattel Children's Hospital and donate for Christmas. Now, if you're coming tonight and you want to bring your stuffed animal here, that's fine. You're welcome to do so. But just don't forget, we're not asking you to bring a white elephant gift or any other kind of gifts, just simply a new stuffed animal.
So Diane, we can actually purchase one this evening at Target and just hand it to you, correct? As another alternative?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And also, I think for Guido's information, we need to get a kind of a head count on who's coming and how many at the holiday party.
Right.
I'll give that to you, Tom. I'll tell you what I've got today, and then I'll send out a reminder and see if anybody else signs up.
Yeah, Diane a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, sent out an invite. So refer back to those, or I guess you'll resend that today, Diane. Thank you. Coming up next month on Sunday, January 15th, is the 3rd, I believe, district brunch. It's actually titled District 5280 Sunday Brunch for Peace. And Marcia, do you have a few comments maybe you can share with us about that breakfast to the extent you have some information on it?
You're muted, Marcia.
There are 2 guest speakers for that, and I'm friends with one of them, Scott Martin, and he is a Rotary Peace Fellow. And he actually just recently was down in Uganda at the new Rotary Peace Center at Makerere University in Kampala. And he was teaching there in Uganda at Makerere at our Peace Center for Rotary. And he's been very, very, very active with Rotary, and we're also in Mediators Beyond Borders together. We've worked a lot with that together. He was in Houston. Some of you, if you were in Houston, you may have met him there. but his actual club is the Rotary E-Club of World Peace, and that meets on Tuesday nights on Zoom all the time. But he's a very, very active Rotarian, very, very active in Mediators Beyond Borders, and does a lot of things. And I'm sure he'll give a very, very interesting talk.
Great. So it's $45 per person. You can register on the District 5280 website. It's also on the weekly newsletter. I'm planning on going. I hope others will be there as well. So that's from 12:30 to 3 p.m. at Proud Bird down by the airport. So it should be a wonderful, wonderful afternoon with your fellow Rotarians from District 5280. Last week, I discussed at length about the Impact Club and service projects. Well, a service project is moving along really nicely right now. It's actually what we're envisioning, and it's still in the planning stages, the early planning stages. So already the date's going to slide. Turns out that I have a PETS meeting that way for the president-elect training. We have the last pre-PET session that morning. I didn't realize there's a conflict, so I'm thinking maybe we'll push it back a week and have the cleanup on the 28th rather than the 21st. But John O'Keefe, and I was hoping John would be on the call, but I guess he had another commitment. John shared with me again, and I think a lot of you might realize he's on a board of the West Los Angeles Homeless. Their area of interest and involvement is pretty much the same area that Westwood Village Rotary covers. The organization goes from pretty much Wilshire North, Freeway, the 10 Freeway South, the 405 West, and Country Club to the east. So that's basically the same Westwood Village footprint. So we're thinking of doing the service project with this organization. We have a planning meeting scheduled for tomorrow evening, a Zoom call. I'm hoping several of us Rotarians can participate, and it's going to be for only about a half an hour. I realize it's a tough night. It's evening. It's a Friday evening. It's a Friday evening during the holidays, but still, it should not be more than a half an hour to get the ball get the ball rolling, I should say. And it should be a great way for us to help out in our community, working with an existing agency who has advisors and social workers on staff who will help us do the cleanup in areas that might really be right with the homeless of our community. There's a lot of homeless in the West LA area where, of course, many of us realize that. So anyway, really excited about that. We're gonna have a call tomorrow night. Look for a Zoom to go out for. I'm not gonna invite everybody. If you don't get a Zoom invite and you want to participate, let me know, and you can join the call tomorrow night. It's our getting the ball rolling, seeing if it's the right fit, us and John's organization. I kind of think it would be. Anyway, so it's going to be real exciting for us to pull this off as our first service project. And remember, I want everyone to be inviting family members, friends, associates, people who could make great impact members, or even just regular Rotarians as well. So anyway, I think it's going to be a lot of fun and very helpful for our community, needless to say. I do have a few other comments and I just want to share, kind of reaching out into the future on dates and kind of give people kind of an idea. You know, I'm already in the process of getting ready for my year next year. Pre-PETS sessions have been going on. I got one next week. I've had homework to do. It's all very, very organized compared to when I went through it the first time. It's really quite a different world we live in now from when I did it the first time. Anyway, so in early February, I actually had the PETS. And for those of you who don't know, PETS is President-elect Training Seminar, and it's a multi-day event. It's going to be from February 2nd to the 5th. And you get a chance to meet your fellow presidents from District 5280 and from other districts. It's just not our district. It's really several districts that'll be there. So it's when you're an incoming president, it's really a requirement to go to the PETS conference. A reminder that the humanitarian trip is March 23rd to 31st. We've always had a great representation from Westwood Village, so please sign up if that's something that interests you. The district conference, May 4th through the 7th. Chris is really pushing this hard, and I really would like to support him. And so Marcia and I, in all likelihood, will be going. It's at the Miramonte Indian Wells Resort down in Palm Springs area. Again, it's May 4th through the 7th. And so hopefully that's something that many of us will be able to go to help support Chris and the great job he's doing and has done this year. The district assembly, that one's been scheduled for May 20th. And this location is to be determined. And again, for those of you who don't know, it's really gearing up for the next year. It's several hours. Generally, it's on a Saturday, and this one is on a Saturday. And it's they have like breakout sessions talking about the foundation, about the community, the avenues of service, about all different aspects of Rotary, how to run a Rotary Club, financial aspects. So it's a really great way to learn new things about Rotary, and again, visit with a lot of your fellow Rotarians from District 5280. And lastly is the International Convention. This year, it's going to be in Melbourne, Australia on May 27th through the 31st. Marcia and I are going, and already a few other Rotarians have told me that they're going. So I hope we get a great group from Westwood Village down in Melbourne, Australia. It should be a lot of fun. I know Rotary's been down there before. I don't remember who was president that time around, but I've never been to Australia, so I'm looking forward to it and spending time with Rotarians from around the world. So I guess that's it. Any other announcements from anybody? Anyone? Gordon, yes. You're muted.
Okay, I was pressing my space bar that's supposed to unmute you, but it didn't work. Where's our president today? I didn't hear any mention. I heard mention of him, but
great question. Thank you. Chris asked me to pinch hit for him. He's back east in Milwaukee. His son Scott is getting married next May, and they're Rose and Chris and I think probably Scott went back to be with Scott's future in-laws, his fiance, and they're checking out the venue. They're going to the venue, checking out the food, and checking out all the planning that's going on for the wedding, because the wedding will be in Milwaukee in late May.
Steve, I have an announcement.
Oh yes, Chris. I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Yeah, that's okay. As many of you know, I've the past several years chaired the Global Grants Scholarship Committee. And this is the time when the scholarship applications are due for scholarships that begin in the year 2023 and 2024. Tomorrow is the deadline to submit scholarships applications to clubs in District 5280. I expect from my conversations with various applicants to receive maybe 1 or 2 applications to the Westwood Village Rotary Club. I'm looking for to assemble a small committee as we have in years past. I know some of you have been very enthusiastic about that committee, and I encourage you to let me know if you would like to be on it. For those of you who don't know what that comprises, it is reviewing the scholarship application, and those that we as a committee decide to interview, it will be interviewing those applicants either by Zoom or in person. It's not a lengthy process. Most people who have found it, who have done it many years, have found it to be very fulfilling. And I think that includes people like Dwight and Gordon and Allie and Marcia. It's been a very, very nice program, and I've stuck with it for many years because I enjoy it. So please let me know if you'd like to be on the committee, and I'll take it from there. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. Tay, you want to move the PowerPoint on? Oh, President's joke of the day. You know, Chris always does a great job presenting a joke, so I have to do it as well. So anyway, this farmer, he was driving along the road, and it was time for lunch, and he pulled into the roadside cafe. He goes in and orders himself his lunch. Just as his lunch being served, 3 Hell's Angels come into the cafe, and The first Hell's Angel comes up and puts out his cigarette in Chris's in the truck driver or in the farmer's food. The next one comes in and spits in his coffee. And the third Hell's Angels comes in and flips over his food. The farmer scared. He doesn't know what to do. Gets up, pays for his food, and leaves. One of the Hell's Angels looks up to the waitress and says, "Boy, that's one lousy example of a man." And the waitress says, "Yeah, it's also one lousy example of a driver because he just ran over 3 motorcycles." But you can unmute and laugh if you want. All right. The past, the present, and the future went into a bar. It was tense. All right. Looks like the joke teller will be just as good next year as this year. Okay. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Taya. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Our speaker today is our own Gail Smith. And nobody better to introduce Gail than her husband, Kurt. Kurt, would you like to introduce Gail to everyone?
Sure.
Thanks, Kurt.
I was discharged. I'm going to move away here. I got an echo. Just a minute. I was discharged from the military, Air Force, coming back from the Vietnam War 52 years ago. And I was sitting in one of my first classes, a boring bacteriology class at UCLA. And in an act of supreme defiance, I had grown a full beard. One day I decided to shave it off, and I heard this voice from across the lecture hall saying, "Oh, you shaved your beard off." I looked up, and there was this cute girl in a mini skirt, and I looked up from the mini skirt, and I saw this very tight, well-filled sweater. I got pretty excited about that. And then I looked up and saw her tremendous smile, and it was all over. Fast forward, we got 3 kids, 6 great grandkids, and living in 2 places. Can't get better than that. So my wife, Gail Smith, is the speaker today.
Okay. Well, I have officially been a Rotarian only about 4 years, but I've unofficially been one since 1988 when Kurt joined Rotary. I'll get more into that, but I'm just going to give you a little of my personal history. When Steve sent me an email the other day asking if Chris had allotted me 15 minutes or 30 minutes to speak, I was a little flabbergasted, and I am sure there's no way I could ever speak about 30 minutes, and I'm not even sure I can fill you with 15 minutes, so I'll just do my best. Anyways, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I was born there. My mom and dad and I have 1 sister, but I come from a very large Italian family. Both my mom and dad had 7 siblings, and 3 of my grandparents were immigrants from Italy. And my paternal grandmother was born in the United States, but her parents were also immigrants from Italy. And they all went through Ellis Island and came as teenagers and found their way basically to, one was in Erie, Pennsylvania, because there was a cousin there. And the other one was to Buffalo, New York for some relatives. Anyways, my grandparents worked hard. Both my grandfathers worked on the railroad. One was a carpenter, and the other one worked as a porter. Started out cleaning a cabin and then became the official porter for his own cabin. Anyways, when I was about 5 years old, the family moved from Buffalo to a suburb called Cheektowaga. when as a little kid, you didn't really understand all these unusual names, but most of the areas outside of Buffalo were named for the Indian who inhabited there, relatives in West Seneca, Tonawanda, and so forth. Anyways, we were a very typical Italian family. It was like I had 7 other mothers with all my aunts. And on the Sundays, we'd get together at my grandma's house for a big Italian dinner, and we'd spend it with the whole family. And unfortunately, when my mom was in her mid to late 30s, she was diagnosed with bad arthritis. And the doctors basically said we needed to relocate to a warmer climate or she was going to be crippled. So my dad at the time was working for General Electric as an appliance repairman. And for him to relocate, there were only 2 places that had availability. One was Phoenix, Arizona, and the other one was Los Angeles. And the decision was made very easily because through friends of friends of friends, there was a family in Los Angeles that there was a connection to, and that's how we ended up in California. And we moved here in 1960, and I remember it was a week before the Kennedy-Nixon election. And my parents were very upset because they couldn't vote. Of course, all the rules have changed since then, but that's how it was. So we lived in Burbank, California for a year in a 1-bedroom apartment. My sister and I got to share the bedroom, and my mom and dad slept on a pull-out couch. And every weekend we'd go looking and try to figure out where we were going to relocate. So a year later, after we lived in Burbank, we moved to Canoga Park, which was the very west end of the San Fernando Valley. It's since been renamed West Hills, but where we bought our house, the roads ended and the sheep were still grazing, and there were egg ranches, and it was a really, really lovely place to start out. So eventually went to Canoga Park High School, graduated from there and went to UCLA. And I majored in psychology. And as Kurt mentioned, we met in a boring bacteriology class. That was 52 years ago. And we've been married for 51 years. So after I graduated with my degree in psychology, I didn't really think I wanted to listen to people's problems all day and become a psychologist. So I went back to school to Cal State Northridge, and I got a bachelor in science degree and a certificate in physical therapy. And I became a physical therapist.
Me?
Steve, we lost her.
Yeah, I don't know if it was my screen froze or Gail's screen froze. Kurt, are you on still?
Gail's screen froze.
I know, but if Kurt could then go get her. Kurt, you there? Gail?
Looks like their internet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's give him a minute to see if we can read. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I was enjoying that very much.
Okay,
Here
I'm
she is,
back.
she's back.
All right, she's back. Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so my first job was in an acute care hospital where I worked for 2 years. And it was when they were just starting to do total hips and total knees. And I got to be really good friends with one of the orthopedists. So I got to see a total hip replacement. And he did the first total knee at the hospital. And just to show you how things have changed, the patients used to have to come into the hospital the night before. And for a total knee, they were there for 2 weeks. They did the surgery the next day, and then they wrapped the leg and kept it completely immobilized and straight for a week. And then they took the bandages off, and the poor patient was left with a horribly stiff leg. that then as a physical therapist, we had to try to get them to bend it again. And the knee is basically a hinge. It bends and straightens, but it was just really horrible rehab for them. Nowadays, they have patients basically go home within a day or two, and they have what's called a CPM machine, which is continuous passive motion. They're moving the knee immediately and giving them ice to prevent the swelling, and things are greatly improved. But anyways, I knew that I always wanted to work with children. Pediatrics was what I really wanted to do. So after I left St. Joseph's, I started working for, at the time, it was called Crippled Children's Society, which of course is now politically incorrect, and it was renamed California Children's Society. And I worked at Whitney, which was a junior and senior high school for children with disabilities. And it was really a lot of fun, especially working with that age population. And I worked there until I had our first child, Allison, who's now 45. And then after that, I started working at a pediatric elementary school, McBride, which serves a population of children aged 3 to 21. And then proceeded to have our two boys. And then after that, I moved on to home health. Luckily, unbeknownst to me, physical therapy was a very good job as a working mom. I had a lot of choices of jobs in which I could work and take care of the kids at the same time. So while they were growing up, I proceeded to do home health. So I could drop the kids off at school, go see my patients, pick them up, and then do whatever I had to do, and then do paperwork at night. Anyway, so I did home health with all ages, basically birth through people up into the hundreds, whatever their needs were. And I began to spend
Steve, I think you're going to have to start singing.
I was enjoying that.
It's too, but I think Steve will have to start singing in the interim.
Well, she'll probably be back on in a minute.
Yeah, give her a second.
Well, let's see now. Let's show tunes, Beatles songs. So, hey, I saw a musical last night. It was really
Okay.
good.
Third
Okay,
time. Anyway, so then I specialized in children from birth to age 3, and mostly they were a lot of premature babies being born due to in vitro fertilization, where they would be doubles and triples and born early. Also, with improved prenatal care, babies that were born as early as 24 weeks were being saved. And when they get home, we would monitor to make sure they were developing properly. And then also there were our children being born with genetic defects, and they were also needing to be monitored to be helping with their developmental progress. And so I did that for many years. And then after a while, this was through Westside Regional Center. There's 21 regional centers in the state that take care of special needs population. And they cover them from birth to age 3. Then the school system covers them from age 3 to 21. And then they're covered again through regional center through the rest of their life. And I came into the office and became the physical therapy consultant. And I worked there until my retirement, and did things like we had equipment clinics, ordered wheelchairs, did home assessments, and then I would consult with the younger therapists who were out in the field working with the babies. So that's basically my work history. And now I'll get into a little bit of my Rotary history. So Kurt originally started off in the Century City Rotary Club in 1988. And the way we became involved is we were working with the summer exchange program with the Japanese students that was run by Yoshi Setaguchi. And it was kind of fun for me because I knew Yoshi in a professional setting through the Child Amputee Project at UCLA. And I knew his wife, Toshi, through California Children's Services because she was a therapist. So I knew them before I knew the Rotary connection. Anyway, so we began hosting Japanese students every summer, and our kids were much too young at the time to participate, but eventually when they became high school students, each one of them got to have a turn going on the Rotary trip to Japan. So it was just a really wonderful experience. And I remember before we were involved with Westwood going to Homer's house, where he would host the, as Westwood assistants to the program, have the barbecue in the backyard. Anyways, so over the years, Kurt, well, what happened was Century Rotary Club, basically, people kept dropping out until it was down to like, I don't know, 5 or 10 people. So that's when Kurt switched over to Westwood, where he's been ever since. And so some of the things I've done for Westwood is, I'm sure many of you remember Sean McMillan, who was one of the pilots for Angels Flight West. Well, he realized that when the patients got to Santa Monica Airport, they didn't have any transportation to get to the various hospitals and doctors. So he was involved with starting a driving program, and we were called the Earth Angels. And so for many years, since the beginning of the program, I was a volunteer driver for that up until COVID, when I unfortunately felt I had to quit, because that was before the vaccine. And also we were spending a lot of time up at the lake. And then also Kurt and I have been on several of the humanitarian trips, which were really fun. And that's when the ladies kept saying, why aren't you a Rotarian? You know, so that's how I officially became involved with it. And since we're up at the lake, you know, we didn't want to leave Rotary behind. So we are unofficial. You can't be in more than one Rotary club. So we didn't want to give up on Westwood. So I don't know if anybody can see this. We're permanent visitors at the Rotary Club. There's actually 2 in Incline Village, and one meets Thursday mornings at 7 for the business people, and the other one meets Mondays at noon. So it was a no-brainer which one we would join, being retired. Anyways, the people there are really great, and we participate in a lot of activities there. And since I'm computer challenged, I've sent Taya some pictures that I hope she can share. And I can tell you about a few of the activities up there. Okay, well, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Incline Village, but we're located at the northeast corner of Lake Tahoe, and we're a really small community. We only have 3 traffic lights, and it's just a wonderful place to be. Anyways, 4th of July, we resumed having the parade that goes through a few streets of town. It's very folksy and old fashioned. So I was involved with getting our float decorated. And I don't know if you can see, there's an inflatable duck. I have another picture. This is Billy, one of the newer members who volunteered his truck and helped with all the decorations, and Mike, who's one of the presidents this year. Next one, Taya, please. Yeah, anyway, so the reason there's a duck on top is the big fundraisers for the club is to sell ducks that originally used to get sent down what's called Third Creek, down this creek, and then there'd be a finish line, and the first 3 ducks of the heat would get prize money, and eventually they'd be put into a final heat for a big prize. But after COVID happened and all the kids would get in the creeks and collect the ducks and so forth, they switched it to what they call a duck drop because they couldn't have the close communication, and it got moved from 4th of July to Labor Day weekend. Anyway, so next slide, please, Taya. Oh, well, we're skipping a little bit. Okay, this is one of the projects I work on in Rotary. We have a garden at the corner of Village and 28th, which is the center of town. And we have a Rotary bench. Actually, there's several of them throughout town for people to sit on when they're walking. And I've been volunteering for 4 years. We get out after the snow melts to weed everything, and then we plant it up just to provide a nice point of interest for people driving and walking through. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is what the duck drop is now. So we start selling the ducks. This is a picture of what the duck looks like that actually goes down, and we put a number on. So we sell them 3 for $20 and people get numbers. And then these are the little mini ones. I don't know if you can see that really well. That we give out to the kids when we're walking during the parade and to the parents when they're buying the ducks for them. Anyway, so now what we do is the fire department helps us with the big ladder, and they take, I don't know if you can see in this one picture, suspended from the end of the ladder is a big trash bin that's full of these numbered ducks. And we have a bullseye, and they drop the ducks down, and the 3 that are closest to the bullseye are the ones that win. And it raises about $20,000 every year. So it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of community support. Okay, and one more picture, I think. And then this is just a little bit about the environment that we join. I also, I do volunteer at the local thrift store. It's called Tahoe Family Solutions. They run programs to help with family counseling, and they have academic support for students, and they have an English learning conversation class for the families, and they also help with tax planning. And during COVID, they did a lot of financial help to families with food and rent. And I also belong to the local Knitters Guild, and we do crocheting and knitting for a winter warmth and wellness program for a group home in Reno called Eddie House that takes care of homeless teens. And then every spring in April is Shaken Baby Syndrome Month. So we make little purple caps because purple is the cover for awareness, and those go to the local hospitals. And then in our free time, enjoy things like hiking. This is the picture on the left is a meadow off of Mount Rose Highway. And there's a ridge up above called Chickadee Ridge where you can take bird seed and hike up and put your hands out, and the birds eat right out of them. And the picture on the left is one of our beautiful lake. It's there's an East Shore path that's about three miles that starts at incline and ends at a place called Sand Harbor. And I don't know, is there one more picture, Taya? Yeah. And this is more of what you see when you're walking along the path. So it's really serene, and we're very blessed to be able to spend time in both places. So that's it. Anybody has questions, I'm available.
Gail, are you back home now, or are you still up in Tahoe?
No, we're actually in LA, Tom. We're here for the holidays. We've been here since a little before Thanksgiving, but we'll be going back up the end of December, beginning of January.
Gail, which hospital was it that when you first started working and they were doing the knee surgeries? Which hospital was that?
St. Joseph's in Burbank, next to Walt Disney Studios. Yeah.
Do we have any other? Do we have any other questions from anyone? So
Thank
Gail, I
you.
was thinking maybe we can do a service project up in Lake Tahoe. You look beautiful.
Well, that sounds great. This club is really, everybody is very nice, and I'm sure they would like to we do things like, picking up the trash around the lake. We support a lot of, during COVID, we did a lot of little grants for the local businesses. One big problem up at the lake, and like most resort places, is to live there is very expensive, and to keep employees, it's very difficult because they can't find affordable housing. It became very, very bad during COVID because several people from the Bay Area, once they realized they could work remotely, moved into town. And a lot of what was long-term rental became available for sale, and people just lost their housing. And it's pretty hard to, it's like a 25-mile drive from either Reno or Carson City to get up to the lake to work there. And during good weather, it's fine, but it's pretty horrible during when it can be bad winter conditions. So.
Well, Cooper's welcoming somebody to the house. Sorry about that. Remember barking.
That's fine.
How's the lake level? Is it down a lot, or?
It was actually, when we left, it was below lake level. It was below the natural rim. And when that happens, the Truckee, the lake, there's like a little dam at Tahoe City. And when the lake is above lake level, the water goes out and it becomes the beginning of the Truckee River. And when it gets below lake level, then there's no water, the river dries up. So when we left, it was a little below the natural rim, but they've had a good amount of snow so far. So it's back up to its level, but it's not above right now.
That's good. That's great.
I have a question. I think your international trips, are they pretty recent that you started taking, Gail?
I think she might have froze again. Now it's Kurt. Is he also? All right.
Mark, do you know?
Oh yeah, Mark, can you handle that question?
Yeah, you talk about a humanitarian trip.
Frozen. She's going to come in and use my computer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm here.
Hi, welcome back.
Yeah, I was just curious because if you had kind of a deep exposure to Rotary before, like what kind of prompted or motivated you to start the international trips? Because that it seems like it was pretty recent that you started doing that, or maybe I just didn't know.
Well, let's see. We've been on 5 or 6 trips. And it was basically when we got all the kids married off through college and out of the house. Then we had a little extra time and money to get involved with the national trips.
So where is the international trip this year going to be?
Belize.
Okay.
But unfortunately, we can't go because we're hopefully in February, we're going on a 6-week trip to Australia that's been rescheduled 3 times. And we won't be back when the trip starts.
Okay. Well, next year, I was talking to incoming Governor Makiko, and she didn't tell me exactly where it's going to be, but she's already got a place in mind for 24. So I'm sure that more information about that humanitarian trip will come out once the 23 trip has been completed successfully.
I'm lobbying
yes,
for either Haiti or Venezuela.
Okay, those are 2 interesting places.
They both need a lot of help.
Yeah,
Haiti, I
went
just
military.
did a fundraiser for Haiti through Rotary. We did a concert online, and 2 Rotarians were just kidnapped. They were kidnapped for 17 days for profit.
Wow.
Kidnapping for profit is big there.
Yeah, I think we'll have to figure out another place, Kurt. Anyway, any other questions from anybody?
I had
Okay,
one.
well, Gail, we just about did 30 minutes. I want you to know.
Okay.
So you did a great job. Very interesting, wonderful life story. You're obviously the better of the couple. No, I'm just kidding. Wonderful couple, wonderful story. Kurt, wonderful introduction, by the way. That was great. Really got us off to a nice
Steve,
start.
Tom had a question. I don't know if you saw.
Oh,
it.
Tom? Tom, yes, sir.
I was curious about the Earth Angels. When I first joined Rotary, I did the Earth Angels all the time. And all of a sudden they stopped asking. Do we know what happened to that project?
No, because I only found out about it when Sean and maybe Peter, I don't know if Peter was involved with getting the Earth Angels going. So that was, well, obviously before Sean passed away. I think it was a couple years before he had his accident.
I do remember Don Nelson shared one of the patients he was driving threw up in his car. So that may have discouraged some members after that meeting to continue to drive. But that was one memory about the Earth Angels just from the vault.
I
Gail,
thought
that was a
COVID
wonderful
major.
presentation, Gail.
Thanks.
The
I
air
thought-
traffic at Santa Monica Airport is very low. So that really reflects the activity with Angel Flight as well.
COVID interrupted it pretty severely too, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, Gail, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And
You're
as we
welcome.
always say, Craft Talks are some of our very best programs. Thank
Very
you so much.
enjoyable.
Thank you.
Okay, for those, just to reiterate, tonight is our shopping spree at Westwood Transitional Village. And then next Thursday at Guido's, there's our annual holiday program. Remember the stuffed animals. Remember, if you haven't RSVP'd yet, please do so as soon as you can, so Diane and Tom can get those final numbers to the restaurant. So with that said, unless there's any other comments.
Yeah, I just
yes,
have
Peter.
one thing.
Oh, Peter or Kurt. Go ahead, Kurt.
I just wanted to say that Gail always hates it when I introduce her because I find some dirty old man way to embarrass her.
Well, you did a great job. Peter, did you get your hand up?
Yes, is it 2 animals per couple?
Yes, 2 animals per couple. Absolutely. With that said, we'll see some of you this evening at Westwood Transitional Village, and the rest of you, we hope to see you next Thursday for our annual holiday program. And with that said, I don't have a bell, but if I did, I'd ring it right now.
Hey, Steve, do we wrap the animal?
No, I don't think so, Marcia. No, excuse me, Diane. I don't think it's necessary, Peter. I don't think so. But I'll find out later tonight when I talk to Diane.
Diane, you're muted.
Oh, there you are.
I
Diane.
want to hear Ally ring the bell.
Oh, Allie, unmute yourself.
No, do not wrap the animals.
Do not wrap the animals. And Allie, may you ring the bell for us.
All right, Gail, see you tonight, you guys.
Bye.
Ring the
Bye,
bell,
everyone.
Ally.
Good.
There, I hear it.
Sweet.
Oh.